Now I welcome Jeetu Thomas and CB to present their topic on Swift programming.
Good afternoon all. Actually, we are going to give you a brief talk about Swift programming language. As you all know, Swift is the Apple's own programming language. This is the first programming language developed entirely by Apple. Chris Lackner, who previously developed the LLVM compiler, is the designer of Swift programming language. Actually, they have started the development of Swift in early 2010, and by late 2014, they released the first stable version of Swift. So, as we all know, Objective-C is the backbone for developing Cocotesh applications. Still, this Objective-C has some drawbacks. Like for implementing a simple functions, we need to write more lines of codes, and memory management is very difficult with Objective-C. I know all iOS developer has faced this problem. And in Objective-C, we have two files, .h file and m file for implementation and error declaration. With Swift, we have only single file where we can do all things. So this in turn, using two files is somewhat tough to manage. So Apple decided to create a language of their own. And actually, with memory management, first we tried to implement automatic garbage collection with Objective-C, which they did. So after that, they just implemented automatic reference counting algorithm with Objective-C. But even this objective reference counting algorithm is also not up to the mark. Still, we have some memory issues while using Objective-C. So they decided to go for a new language without the baggage of Objective-C. And also, they are trying to develop an environment where they can see the output of their coding, that is real-time output of their coding. So finally, they ended up with Swift. And Swift has many new features which makes it safe, modern, interactive, and fast. Okay, with Swift, actually we can define this with a simple definition, that is Objective-C without C, designed for Coca and Cocotesh applications. This combines the performance of compiled languages with the simplicity and interactivity of popular scripting languages like JavaScript, Python, etc. And this has some features which makes the code more safe and reliable. Well, here are some features, new features of Swift, like type inference, optionals, tuples, structures, exhaustive switch, and generics. Actually, I have listed only a few, and there are a lot more steps which make it really a very good language for new developers to begin with. Okay. First, as I said, actually I have organized like this. Following slides will show you how these new features will make Swift a safe, modern, and fast language. Type inference. Actually, with Swift, the compiler automatically infers the type based on the value you have assigned. You can see this example. Here, there is no need for us to define the data type of the variables we are assigning. So we can just give a keyword let for a constant and var for a variable, and we can define the values. Same as set of functions also. We can define the just with a var or let characters, and just with a value, the collections will be inferred as whether it's string or integer. And which is if we are calling it as a safe feature, like with these collections, if we declare it as an integer array, and if we try to insert a string value, we will get a compiler error. So in a multi-threaded environment, this will make our code very safe. And with Swift, we have optional values. Actually, we can't declare a function as nil. So with Swift, we have optionals. So actually, this optional will handle the absence of a value. Either if there is some value and it equal to an number, etc., or if there is no value at all. So I'll tell you just how to declare these optionals. we can declare it with a where or let keywords. We have to include just question mark. If you are declaring it as an option, we have to include this question mark. You also can unwrap the value contained in the optional by using the bang operator, that is this exclamatory mark. So in this case, if the value is nil, if we don't have the value, in Swift we have one iflet syntax. So using this iflet syntax, you can retrieve the value from the declare optional. That is, using the exclamatory mark, you can retrieve the value. So you can use this in a multi-threaded environment so that you can prevent many compiler errors, etc. And now switch case is one of the powerful feature in Swift. Actually, with switch cases, we can compare any kind of data with switches. Also, we can also include conditions in case statements. I have given two examples where we are using 3 dots to represent a closed range, and we also can use 2 dots to represent an open range. And in this second example, we have checked the string in case statement. Like, actually, this is a simple programming, so I think all can understand. With tuples. Actually, with Swift, we can return multiple values with tuples. Tuples is grouping of values of any type, maybe an integer or a double value, float value, or string values. We can also retrieve the values from a tuple using tuple decomposition. I have just given an example where the function returns a tuple, that is an integer and a string. So just we can catch that in a variable, and we also can retrieve the values inside the variable just by mentioning the status code and message. We also can name the tuples. As in this example, I have given a name as code and message. So while retrieving, we have to retrieve it using the dot notation. And next is structures in Swift can include functions also. And same way we have generics where we can implement a function which has variety of variables. So we can see this function takes variety of variables, whether it's an integer or string or any other data type. It's just pushing an item into the stack and popping it. And with Swift, Swift is very fast. Like with automatic memory management, Swift works accurately with automatic memory management, which is we can track and manage the memory usage of the app. And actually what it does is it preserves the objects created when they are no longer used. And next is using Playground. Actually, Chitu will show you a live demo on how to use this Playground.
Thank you, Simi. Good evening, everyone. I think it's audible for everyone, right? You can hear, right? Hello? Okay. I'm going to show you how interactive working Swift in Playground. This is a Playground. Okay, this is the IDE for developing Swift. And the main feature of the Playground is that as you type the code, you can see the immediate output, like in a scripting language. For example, I'm going to type see this. I just initiated a variable str, and I can see the immediate output here. String has a string use type inference, and it has a powerful way to handle strings and like a scripting language. Okay, let's move to some conditions. This is a for loop. I created a for loop, and you can see here it displays 100 times, right? Okay, I want to see the result. I want to see the output of the value, output of the for loop. You can see in the console, you can see the output without running and building the code. That is the power of the playground, and it allows you to see the history value of the object, right? See this? It represents it as a graph. For example, if I want to see the value of 20, okay, I can see it right here, 400. Next, moving on to what if I want to create a class with some emojis, not just like add two numbers, class add two, and function. Here you can see that the class name, the function name, the variable name, everything I use emojis, and I get the output. Here this emoji holds a value 3, and this emoji holds a value 3 plus 2 equals 5, and I'm passing this value to this function, and I'm getting the output as 5 plus 3 equals 8, and I'm directly getting the output here. Okay, and one of the conditional statement that CB said is about switch statement. In this switch statement, we can see this vegetable holds a value cucumber, right? So, and in switch statement doesn't have any break operation, break statement. It automatically handles that. So here, the vegetable holds a value cucumber, and it gives the corresponding output cucumber. Okay, let me change the value to, you can see the output here. This is the output. Let me change the value to some pepper. You can see the output is changing in real time. There's no need to run or build the code. You can see the output is changing right at the right side bar. And what about loading a resource? Then we can do some basic programming like this. But what about loading a resource? Suppose if I want to load an image. Here what I did was, in this image array, I hold 3 images: inap, round, and star. Okay, I want to see the image without running and building the code. I can see it right here. See this? Okay. Okay, I am not going to bore you with basic programming stuff. Let's move on to some game sets or something like that. We all know that loading a game requires more memory and processing power than a usual productivity or utility app. So how it handles the gaming? Let's see that. And Apple provides 2 frameworks for developing 2D and 3D games. Let's start with the 2D object here. I'm creating an empty scene. This is called a scene, and we are rendering objects in a scene. I'm creating an empty scene here, and I'm getting the output. I can able to see the scene without any delay. And let me add one rectangle over it. Here you can see the rectangle right about the scene. And let me add some actions. Okay. It starts rotating without any delay. There's no need of any simulators, there's no need of any emulators, nothing. You can just see the output in the same X code. So this is all about 2D stuff. Let's move on to 3D. Actually, this is a scene where a 3D circular pipe is lying on a surface. Okay, we are viewing that in Z-axis. That's why we can see it as a straight pipe. So, if you want to see the whole circular pipe, let's give some actions. Let's rotate it so that we can see the whole pipe. Now we can see a 3D pipe circulating, rotating, right? Let's give some light effect so it looks real. Perfect. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that we can save a lot of time, and we can do whatever steps we want with this IDE. This is a powerful, and it's a very good IDE that you can see it in real time. You can just keep on coding, and you can see the output at your right side bar. And let me show you. I'm going to reduce the thickness of the pipe. See how it changes. Done. As simple as that. Okay. Then let me conclude the session with a demonstration of a small 2D game. I'm not good in gaming, but I created a 2D game for the demonstration. This is a 2D game creator. It's almost like there are two cannons, and there are a lot of you can say that there are a lot of nodes in this scene, in this same scene itself. But it doesn't take much time to load. It's not hanging, no other issues. These two cannons are actually two separate nodes. This house is a node, these buildings are nodes, this small hill is a node, this surface is a node, and everything, the sky is a node. But it's not taking much time to load. It's giving the realistic output in the real time. I'm going to add one more node on the top of this. See how fast it gives us the output. It doesn't make any delay. As we type the code, it gives output. I'm going to fire one of the cannons there. So I started firing the left one. Right. You can see that. Let's activate the other one too. Wow, that's great. And the graph above, you can see the timing of the firing of each cannons. This you can see a lot of colorful cannon balls coming out of each of the cannons, right? And one of the wonderful features that we can use in Swift is that it helps us to control the time. We can go forward and backward through time. I will show you you can see a slider also at the bottom of the screen, right? You can control the timing. Suppose I want to see what will happen if two balls collide. I can just move over there and see what it happens. You cannot do that in the simulator, right? Once it is done, it's done. You cannot go back and check what's happening there. Swift and Playground gives you the full control over time, so that you can go through each and every detail of your applications. You can polish your application and make it a perfect one. See how I'm moving the slider, and I am recreating the history. and you can even see the graph over there. If I want to see what happened here, this node is representing that this cannon is firing a ball of this type. Right? Graphical representation. That's perfect. Good. This is all about the playground, and I think the guys who are working on this are going to make a change, or they will absolutely love it. And coming to the drawbacks of Swift, when we compare to Objective-C, one of the drawback is that we can actually, by introducing Swift, we can use two programming languages at the same time. In the same project, we can use two programming languages. We can, if you like Swift, we can use Swift to code for iOS. If you like Objective-C, you can use Objective-C to code for programming language. If you are good in both, you can use both. I can include Swift. I can code with Swift and Objective-C in the same program itself. One of the small disadvantage we find is that if we use both programs in the same code, it will make some delay. And another this one advantage is not a disadvantage. Actually, Swift is a new programming language. It's still in its development process. It's not complete. If you check the Apple documentation for Swift, we can see new documentations and deprecations are coming each and every week. So it's still in its development stage. So we may have to wait for some more months, maybe, to get it complete. And that's all about Swift. Thank you. If you have any queries, you can ask.